I want to slightly change now and segue into my big idea for the day. So this again is a presentation that I've put together. And I want to go back to what I'm calling Apke's golden rule of Agile. Again, it's not the golden rule of Agile, it's my perception of it. I believe if I were to take a lot of what's in agility, if I'm going to take what's in the values and the principles of the Agile Manifesto, it boils down to this. And it's not just this, but this is a big part of it. And it's helpful. That's the reason that I use this, not because it's complete, not because it's exhaustive, but I found it to be very helpful. And here is the golden rule of Agile, is that we deliver the optimal value to our customers in the shortest time possible. And if we take this, and here's what I think is the utility of this. If we take this statement and say there's a lot here, it's not everything, but there's a lot here, and we unpack that statement, we really need to know three things in order to satisfy this rule. And those three things are: we need to know our customers' needs, we need to know the value of delivering an item, a thing, a feature, whatever it may be, to our customer. What is the value of doing that? Not only to the customer, but also to our organization, because companies are for profit and we're out there to make money. And unless you're a nonprofit, that's a different story. But a for-profit company, what is the goal? Well, Goldratt tells us it's to make a profit now and in the future. So it has to, most of the time, doing things for our customer that bring value to us as a company, because we get more customers. The third thing we need to know is we need to know something about the time, effort, expense, etc., of what does it take to deliver those things. Now, most of what I talk about, I think, is more applicable to what I will consider knowledge work, and knowledge work tends to be mostly labor intensive. So this might be different in a manufacturing environment. I'm talking mostly about those things, and obviously, like a lot of people, I cut my teeth on software development, and I've applied it to software development, which is knowledge work. So how much effort, how much time does it take to deliver those things? Because that speaks to something called cost of delay. We covered that last week. I covered again because what we did last time is we did an exercise on relative value and effort. For those of you who were with us, if you weren't with us, I encourage you to go look at the previous ones. They should be easy to find, and you can see that thing. And what we can do is, once we have relative value and effort, we can get a ratio of value to effort. And I do this in a spreadsheet, and I do it quite frequently with clients. I think I did it just yesterday. If we do that, we can sort by the things that have the highest value and the lowest effort. Because mathematically, we're assuming our estimates are correct, which obviously is problematic, but we have to start somewhere. So just mathematically, if our estimates are correct, we deliver the most value in the shortest period of time. It's not because I want it to be, it's mathematical. And I refer to this exercise of getting the value and effort and then sequencing it by the value, the highest value to the lowest effort. I call that the ideal sequence. And it looks something like this. This is what I use in my training. It's what I have in my book. This is a honey-do list. This is a whole bunch of things that you can do as far as home improvement. This is the list. This was done by a class many, many years ago, and I've just used it. I put it into a spreadsheet. You can see that each one of these items in the backlog, whether we want to call them stories, features, epics, OKRs, I really don't care what we call them. I just call them product backlog items. Each one of them has a notion of relative value and relative effort, and you can see that we've sequenced by that ratio in that final column. And again, mathematically, if we were to do this, we would deliver the most value in the shortest amount of time. However, we do not live in the ideal world. We live in the real world. At least I think most of us do. If you live in the ideal world, send me a note. I want to join you. I don't know where it is. We live in a world of constraints, and those constraints can be all kinds of things. Those constraints can be dependencies. They can be temporal, like if I need to deliver something by Black Friday because of Christmas, that's a temporal constraint. I can have legal constraints. There's systemic constraints in terms of I've got to do a dependency. I got to do one thing before another. I think I mentioned that earlier. So what we need to do next is we need to resequence it. We take the ideal sequence and say, this is what we would love to do if we had no constraints. And then we sit down as a team, generally speaking, and we talk about the constraints. And then we resequence the work. This would be an example, again, one I use in my training, and it's one that's in my book, of where would we resequence things? And why would we do so? And what does the value and effort ratio look like? What does the sequence look like? And in this particular instance, I don't know how well you can see it, but you'll notice, or I can read it out to you, we have something called Rewire the Arizona Room, which has been moved up to the top. And the reason that that's moved up to the top is that we also have another item called Insulate the Arizona Room. And I'm not a fancy electrician or handyman at all. You can ask Jana, my wife Jana, she'll tell you that. I'm just not very handy around the house, but I know this. I do not want to insulate the Arizona room first before I rewire it. So I change the sequence so that rewire is above. If I want to get to insulate, rewire is above insulate, because insulate was the first thing that I might do. So I've slightly resequenced this work so that it takes into account the constraints. And what I'm left with, and this is the big idea, and there's more things that I can talk about with this, but I do see that I'm running out of time, and I just want to try to keep it to at least just one big idea, so that we have time for everything today. Is what we have created is we've created it's a backlog, but maybe better to think of it as a sequence of delivery. And that sequence of delivery will, by definition, ensure that the most value is delivered over time, given our constraints. And it is that sequence of events that will satisfy this thing that I refer to as the golden rule, which is we deliver the optimal value in the shortest possible time. Because the shortest possible time, when I put the word possible in there, is because what we want to do is we want to live in the world that's real, the world of the possible. And we don't do that just by delivering the ideal sequence. We do it by factoring in the constraints and making sure that we're delivering the best sequence we can to deliver the most value in the shortest amount of time. Very simple idea, very simple technique, I believe, something that a lot of people can get benefit of. So that's my big idea for the day.